What's good, everybody? It's Cortland here, Corp for short, checking in with you all from the underground. I'll start things out by saying Happy New Year's to you all, and this hopefully is the year that you subscribe to the channel. We'll call it a little bit of a New Year's resolution, but I plan to be a lot more consistent this year with dropping content on YouTube and Instagram and a little bit on TikTok. TikTok's an interesting place. Um, but I I got some topics that I want to discuss with you guys this year, um, and hopefully some things that are more on a positive note, right? Because that's the kind of person I am. So let's start the year out with this video, doing a little bit of character building, right? So today we're talking about the elusive C word, and no, not the one that you guys are thinking. I'm talking about confidence. So if you're watching this video, you probably grew up thinking confidence belonged to the loud kids, right? The taller kids, the bigger kids, um, the popular kids, all those things, right? The ones who raised their hands first in school when a question was asked, regardless of whether or not they actually knew the answer or not. Um, you know, uh, the and you felt like confidence belonged to the people who just you felt like just whenever they walked into a room, they just kind of dominated. They owned the space. Um, and if you're a nerd, an introvert, or just someone that oftentimes lives in your head a lot, right? You probably think confidence is something that you have to fake. You think you need to put on a mask, act extroverted, and pretend to be somebody that you really aren't. But the truth in that is this: that's not really confidence, that's just performance, right? And eventually, performance starts to wear on you, right? It's exhausting, right? So, today for this video, we're going to break down what confidence looks like for those of us that are the quiet ones, right? We're going to take a look at the psychology behind why you might struggle with some self doubt. Uh, talk about some data on why that phrase "fake it till you make it" is actually bad advice to give anybody. We're debunking myths, right? Looking at things like the spotlight effect and turning your analytical brain from being an enemy in maybe certain social spaces that you go to actually being your ally and being your best friend, right? So let's decode this real quick. First things first, um, we have to patch a bug. In your definition of the word confidence, right? Society tells us confidence is value, right? Um, is talking fast, is maybe interrupting people, being the center of attention. And I guess I'll preface all of this by saying that's kind of what society um, models confidence to be today, right? But in reality, confidence is closer just to just being comfortable. It's the ability to sit in silence without having to check your phone. It's the ability to admit you don't know something and not feel stupid. It's the ability to just be. Um, and sometimes just being is really, really difficult. Um, and there's this psychological concept called the confidence competence loop. And the explanation of that is the following: it's a virtuous cycle where believing you can do something, or confidence, right, pushes you to take action, which builds on your skill sets, right, your competency, and then successful performance then boosts your overall confidence further, right? And this fuels more action, more growth, right? More discovery, more curiosity in oneself, and finding out what you can do and pushing your limits a little bit further. Um, and so it starts with taking small, often scary steps, right? And each successful attempt reinforces your belief in yourself, right? And it's that cycle, really, that process that creates an upward spiral of continuous improvement and self assurance, though it can be sometimes a vicious cycle if fear prevents a person from taking action. So basically, true confidence doesn't come from hyping yourself up in the mirror, right? No, it actually comes from evidence, it comes from accomplishments, really. So think about this for a second. You're confident in video games, you're confident in, you know, um, model building, you're confident in, walking your dog or making that meal that you like, right? Because you've done these things over and over again. Repetitive, right? Um, and you're confident, like, at your job or in school, wherever you are in life, because you you do it every single day, right? If you like to code, right, you're confident in coding because you've been able to successfully fix a bug or create some type of program or what have you, right? Um, but that's not where you need confidence, right? That's the easy places, right? And that's not really the point of this video. We're talking about how to be confident in real life, IRL, for those of us that use that um, in day-to-day language. So the problem is you haven't transferred those logic skills, right, that you have that you've acquired over time to a social setting, right? And you're trying to have, the swagger or uh, the cool of a level 99 character, and you're still in the tutorial zone when it comes to social interactions. So, and trust me when I tell you this, people can really tell your level, right? The moment you start engaging with them. Um, they can tell, if you're up here or if you're down here. And one of the quickest ways that they can tell that is you're a sorry person. Now, for the handful, the 17 people of you that watch this video and maybe feel attacked because you think I'm calling you sorry, uh, let me explain really quickly what I mean when I say right? Um, nerds or people, nerd adjacent, are typically naturally apologetic. And it's because we know we aren't accepted, in most social spaces due to maybe things we say or things that we like, things that how we may dress, and things that we do, right? And so we've developed this preemptive kind of stance to go ahead and apologize for being who we are because we know somebody somewhere is going to take offense with it for just us existing, and that formalizes itself, by you using phrases like sorry to bother you, or I might be wrong, but or this is probably a stupid idea. you know it's phrases like that that actually are more of a negative impact on you, than it is the other person, right? Because it's kind of a form of self-hate. It's a form of personal betrayal, really. So stop apologizing for taking up space. You don't need to talk more to seem confident. You just need to stop undercutting your own words. So, instead of using phrases like, sorry I'm late, you could say, thanks for waiting. Because, you deserve to be here just as much as the other person does. Instead of saying things like, "Does this make sense?" You could say, "Do you have any questions?" Right? It's just really, just those little small things like that that help um, you be more confident, right? And confidence isn't about convincing the other person that you're great, right? It's about just knowing that you're okay, even if they don't believe you are. So, if confidence is just comfort, why is it so hard for us to maintain this constant? Why can we solve complex engineering problems but freeze up when that cute lady barista at Starbucks that you see every week asks you how your weekend was? It's not because you're broken or you don't know how to respond. It's because your hardware is running too many background processes. Nerds are analytical. We observe, we calculate, um, in conversation, while the normal person is just talking like we're actively analyzing the tone, fact checking what they just said, observing your posture, observing their posture, and wondering if you got something in your teeth. We analyze social cues like scientists, and then we freeze up on execution like a glitched NPC. you know and there's actually this famous study from Cornell University regarding the spotlight effect, and I mentioned this earlier in the video. But this is a cognitive bias where people overestimate how much others notice their appearance or behavior, making them feel constantly observed like under a spotlight. And this was actually a famous experiment that involved students wearing embarrassing Barry Manilow T-shirts, and overestimating how many others students noticed, when in reality far fewer actually did. And this demonstrates that often we think we're more conspicuous and judged than we actually are, uh, IRL. And so, the students actually predicted, about 50% of people would notice this, but in reality, only 20% noticed, right? Um, so, think about that for a second. Um, and also, just, taking a little nugget. If you like what I'm talking about so far, hit a like, put a comment in there, subscribe to the channel, and send this to somebody that might enjoy it as well, too. So, my takeaway from this experiment is simple, right? We're all terrified of being cringe. But here's some stats that you need to remember, even with that. Um, 70% of people experience imposter syndrome. And, that cool person that you're talking to, or that, is at the job, or, you know, um, wherever in life you might find yourself, that big buff dude at the gym. Um, a lot of times they're wondering, how they look, how they're performing, what are they doing? Do I look stupid today? Um, and you aren't unconfident because you're incapable. You're unconfident because you're over rendering the simulation. Little nerdy thing in there I just said. Um, you just need to lower your graphics settings, right, and just play the game. Just enjoy life. Really, that's really what it is. Just enjoy who you are. Okay, so we can identify the bug, but how do we code the fix, right? And this is not me telling you guys to just go out there and try to adopt, a Chad persona overnight. No. Don't try to flirt like an anime character, right? Where, you the stereotypical guy. And we know that person where they go and do some shit like that, right? No, that's not a transferable skill, when it comes to real life. when it comes to the job, trying to get the lady, whatever you're trying to do, right? No, let me give you a few things that might actually help you start to build your confidence and increase your overall stats and performance. Uh, and just lead to some better outcomes. So, in cognitive behavioral therapy, sorry, they use something called systematic desensitization. And what that is in layman's terms is you build confidence by surviving small risks. So, a level one could just be asking a stranger what time it is, right? Risk amount 0%, nothing, no risk involved in there. um, Level two, this could be a little bit more risk involved. And this is like, giving a compliment to a coworker, right? Or somebody that you frequent all the time. A little bit of relationship and familiarity, right? Risk involved closer to about 10%. And then level three is a little bit higher risk. This is something that might challenge you, right? But to disagree with someone politely and publicly, right? Risk involved is 50%. And even the key word on that is politely, because um, to disagree with someone is not hard at all. It's very easy to disagree with people. But the ability to disagree with somebody politely, that takes skill, that takes effort, and that's where the risk comes into place, in my opinion. So, another thing, the 2 second rule. So, overthinking kills confidence. And that moment you have an impulse to speak, you have about 2 seconds of a window of time before your brain will tell you, nah, don't say it, kill that, right? So, how do we beat that, right? This could be like if you have a joke, just go ahead and say it. It doesn't matter how stupid it is, or there's never a shortage of dad jokes. Go ahead, drop it. If you have an answer, this is to my students. Um, Raise your hand, right? Input into the conversation, input into discussions. And if you wait 5 seconds, the cringe factor kicks in, and you go silent. So again, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, right? Say it within 2 seconds. By 5 seconds, it's too late. You've already wasted that moment. And another thing you could do is, and this sounds kind of dumb, or not dumb, but cliche, but transfer your stats. Now, those of you that play video games may understand that in certain games you have an ability tree or a stat tree. That you play the game, you venture through the storyline or the open world, what have you. You do things, you do objectives, you complete missions, you capture this, you uncover that, you find this. All those things give you stat points, right? And you can allocate that to like speed, strength, durability, intellect, vitality, things of that nature, right? And they're not set in stone. And so sometimes to accomplish certain tasks and play other levels within that game, you actually need to go back into your skill tree and reallocate your stat points, right? And so maybe to beat this foe or to accomplish this task, you need a higher level of durability, and you can sacrifice some of your speed. So you take a couple of your speed points down, and then you put them over to your durability so that you have a better chance of accomplishing this task. So treat real life the same way and transfer your stats. So if you're already confident somewhere in life, like gaming, like I just mentioned, right, or you're a confident writer, you're an artist, a driver, a chef, things of that nature. Take that feeling that I know what I'm doing, and just copy paste it to the area of life that you might want to see improvement in. And so, like when you walk into a party, visualize it like a game map, right? Your favorite game. And you aren't lost, right? You're just exploring the level. gamify the experience, and perform better. So finally, I want you to realize the power of your native build, right? And I'll call this quiet confidence. Adam Grant, a professor at the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania, he did a study and he has some data to actually show something interesting. And this is what he found out after doing a study. And I didn't necessarily do too much research in it. So this is the cliff notes. I'll probably do another video deep diving into that subject after I finish this. But just again, humor me. Cliff notes. He found out that introvert leaders often produce better results than leaders that maybe are more extroverted, right? And the reason is because they actually listen to their teams and their subordinates. And there's something special, right? There's something magnetic about a person who doesn't need to prove themselves simply for the acceptance of others. Uh, you know, insecurity is often just really, really, really loud, right? But confidence, true confidence, is silent. You know, and the thing about this, right? And we know this, right? The loudest guy in the room usually um, has the weakest build, right? He's compensating for a shortcoming somewhere else. And really, if you watch them, if you study them long enough, you'll eventually find out what they're overcompensating for. And you'll find out it's really just a performance, right? And again, you don't need to perform. You just need to exist. And key on that, exist comfortably. And I want to specify exist comfortably, not exist complacently. And I think that's maybe something that people struggle with, being able to separate and understand when they're being comfortable or if they're actually just being complacent. So when you try, when you stop trying to impress people, you inadvertently start to actually impress them. Because in a world of desperate content creators, right? And I don't just mean on the internet. I really more so believe that um, the effects of content creation on the general public is that now everybody is actually starting to see their lives as content, and they're the content creator in their story. Um, but it often has, at least the people being more loud, right? That's really just what it is. Content creation just really allows for people just to be louder. If you got some thoughts or comments about that, definitely put that in the chat. Let's have a discussion, right? But calmness is a superpower, and subtlety often stands out more. Eventually, right? Loud gets noticed first. Subtlety gets noticed the longest. So be yourself, patch the bugs, stop apologizing, lower the graphic settings on your anxiety, and just simply trust your build and use it effectively. So if this video helped you at all, hit the like button. Share with somebody that you think might benefit from this quick message. And show some support to the channel. So the algorithm knows that nerds are taking back over the internet. So, this is Core from the Underground. I'm going back underground. Until next time, peace.